everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I want to show you how to paint this Pueblo. This beautiful blue door with flowers, all Santa Fe inspired. This is part of my Southwest Art Week, and this particular painting is really one of my favorites that I did this whole week. Like, I'm really in love with this one. This is the garden right now that I'm not able to grow. That I really wish I was planting in my yard. And I like painting for that because you can create things in your painting that maybe you can't create in your own life. And so that's one of the magic things for even me when I'm creating on my side. So this has been that for me. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be real simple. I'm going to show you a bunch of techniques on how to get these really charming, very fun impressionistic flowers that everybody loves so much. I'm going to show you how to cast some more living shadows to help a painting like this be more dynamic, some fun color mixes, and of course some really cool lighting on this pebbly walkway. We're going to talk about brush strokes and everything about how this is created so you can paint this at home. On the mic today is my husband John.
Hi guys.
He tracks me with all of our cameras. We have a bunch of them up in here, and he follows me around. It's always sort of a fun game, like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And he tries to make sure that you guys at home can see every second of the action as we're doing a project. Yesterday's Southwest Week was a big project, so I'm really glad today's Southwest Week project is a little bit lighter. It's like a little amuse-bouche of art today, so I'm pretty into it. Are you into it?
Yes, I am.
He's into it. Are you guys into it?
Yes, they are all saying yes. All
It's the hat. It's my silly hat. Okay, so what I have here is a 9x12 canvas board. Now listen, we have a traceable for this, so if drawing is not your thing, and you're like, I really want to paint, but I really hate drawing, that's okay. You can absolutely use that. I'm going to sketch this in for those of you guys that want to freehand it in, and neither path is right or wrong. That's just your personal art path. So I've got my 9x12 canvas here with a couple wishes on it. Over here I have some paint. So my paint for this particular piece is a nice full palette. I've got some ultramarine blue. I have some burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, cad yellow medium, cad red light, Indian yellow, diox purple, phthalo green, phthalo blue, Mars black, zinc white, and titanium white. And this little milky bit in the middle, these all look exactly alike, don't they? Like the Three Stooges here, but they're not. This is my liquid glazing medium, and that helps me slow down the drying time of my paint and create cool glazes and do things that I really like. And for some reason the bottle was leaking earlier, so it's all smudgy. Ew! Okay. How are we today?
Good.
Shall we check out our wishes?
Yes, please.
All right. So today I added, Judy has wishes, she's just like wishing for some health care and well-being. Hey babe.
Oh, I thought you were there. Sorry.
She just has some wishes for health care and her friend Tiffany, and that her medical journey works out a little bit better and she gets a little more support just in every sense of well-being that you can imagine. Debbie is wishing to have, a good scan result, and of course we really hope that that's how that worked out. And then we have Dee Hurley wishes a friend of hers passed, and it was sudden, so she's wishing for a dignified experience with that, where they can be more tapped into the love and remembrance of the life instead of all the stress that goes with that.
Yeah.
So we're wishing that, and of course, overridingly, we have a wish for everybody who's going through being away from their home, or their home is being damaged, that they are returned back into their safest possible living space as soon as possible.
Yes. That's a very good.
I'm going to sketch this in.
All right, let's sketch it.
You can sketch it?
Sketch it.
Sketch it.
Now are you sketching it in with paint or with a pencil?
I'm going to sketch
or with
it in with some
chalk
paint because I kind of penciled it in. And so I'm going to talk about...
Just a little bit there.
Yeah. I'm going to use paint, and the reason I'm going to use paint is because y'all can see it.
I think I've got your picture there. So
Do you? Yeah. So I've got my number 4 cat's tongue. Don't be like, oh, the cat's tongue. Look, I just like it. It's just how it works for these nice small paintings. And it is 4 inches down, or 10.5 centimeter. Are these centimeters? 10.5 centimeters, it says. And so I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make a couple little short lines.
Those math things.
Maths.
Not working
right?
for us.
Maths. Now... here, about 2 inches down and 5 centimeters, I'm going to make another couple little short lines. That's the top of my Pueblo. Right? And I'm going to just round this little corner and join them up. And around this little corner and join these two up.
And what color are you using here?
This is yellow ochre
Just
because it's
yellow
going to
ochre.
vanish
Okay.
into everything I paint. Now about a centimeter down, I'm going to have another little line, so I'm going to curve this down. And I'm using my T-square because, y'all, I don't draw great straight lines. So
Mary says that this.
helpful.
Mary says this reminds her of Georgia O'Keeffe's Adobe Home.
Thank you so much. That is the biggest compliment. And yes, of course, super inspired by many Southwest artists. And, of course, the primary one being O'Keeffe because I think she is the bomb.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of us think that.
Yeah.
Many, many people think O'Keeffe is the bomb.
Which is what we inspired us to try this.
So about 4.5 inches down or 11 centimeters, I'm going to make the top of my door jamb. It's just a hair below the top of my wall. I'm not saying I'm a good architect. I need two sides of my doors, and I like them to be straight.
You know, it's not the painter's job is to represent the door. Not good architecture. Well, maybe, unless you were hired by an architect, and then they're like really going to be like, better get that architecture right.
Right? That's super important. And I have 3 little circles over my door. I'm going to just lightly sketch those in. And again, this is the basis of my Adobe color is my yellow ochre, so it's really a nice color for me to sketch in because it will blend into the overall painting pretty easily. On these, I tried to paste them. These are not perfectly measured out. They're just visually measured out at nice, even intervals. If you came across here, you would say this one is at 3.5 inches, this is at 5 inches, and this is at 6 and almost a half inches, like 6 1/4 inch right here. Right? Or 9 centimeters, 13 centimeters, and 16 centimeters. If that helps. It might help. I don't know.
Don't know.
Now at the bottom of the door, I'm going to sketch in, even though this is going to be painted over by the garden, because we will have planted our garden quite vigorously. We are...
Vigorous planters?
We're vigorous. In this world, I am an awesome gardener with tons of free time to realize all my dreams.
Actually, you have made some really awesome gardens at our houses.
I have, but not currently.
You know, we had, when Cindy and I were first together, we had this awesome purple and white house with peach interior. And
It was many colors in the interior.
Purple and peach.
Many colors in the interior.
I
And everything
painted-
in it was from art festivals.
Yeah, I painted ceiling trim 3 different colors. You know, because there was the side color and the bottom color and the top
And the outside.
and the inside color and the
Yeah.
edge.
Sculpture in the front. Yeah, we were those neighbors.
Yeah.
We were the arty neighbors that everybody looked at. Like nobody'd even rob us, even though we were in a sketchy neighborhood, because we were scary to the criminal people.
we had a little.
That's true, though.
We had a garden duck.
We dressed every day.
And most people didn't have a garden. We had a garden duck.
Yeah, we got a wide berth. Coming down just a little bit. I'm going to make about an inch wide line. Garden duck.
You forgot about the garden
It had a
duck.
lot of outfits, too.
You forgot about garden duck, didn't you?
I did. What's really was a goose.
That's right. It was
And
goose.
your mom handmade a lot of those outfits.
That's right. Well, she had a matching goose.
She had a matching goose. Hers got kidnapped
Hers
and
did
became a
get-
big news story in California because the people that kidnapped it kept sending ransom pictures back. Of the goose having a better time than her. It was really interesting. So here we're going to have a little walkway coming up. So at the base of my door, I'm going to sketch in a little door line right here. So I know where to put that shadow. And this curve here, so this can be hard for people. This curve is about a thumbprint up. I'm going to make a little mark and I'm going to make a nice little curve. Now, one of the things that I will be doing is between my bricks and my plants, I'll be softening that visual line.
Yeah.
So I don't have to be totally perfect in my architecture of it. Over here, this is about 4 fingers, or if I get my little measuring instrument back, it looks like about 7 centimeters or 3 inches over, if you think about it in those terms, about that range. I'm going to make a nice little curve down to that point. See? But again, we're going to have little plants and all kinds of fun things. Just everywhere.
Sorry about
I'll
that.
rinse that out and put that to the side. And then I'm going to get, just to crack y'all up, my number 8 cast. But you can use any brush you like. right? Just use what makes you happy in your painting practice. This is making me happy. I'm using this. You use what makes you happy. I'm going to do my sky. My sky is kind of a lot of fun. I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and add some titanium white to it. And this is loosely mixed. See how I went, stop that. You can't come yet. I went dab, 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 and then I came over here and I just sort of dab, but I didn't smush them around. That's kind of how you get a loose mix, see? They're incorporated, but not thoroughly incorporated.
Let me get up here.
And the brush stroke for the sky is I'm going to just press down and kind of go at an angular direction here.
Angular direction.
Right? From the upper right down towards the lower left is the direction. I might grab a little more of my blue and a little more of my white. See? Loosely mixed.
So Angela would like to know, on a scale of 1 to 3, how many boots is this?
Hoots or boots?
Well, she said boots, but I think it's hoots. I think that was an autocorrect mistake.
I just grabbed white this time. This is a 1.5 hoot. It'll be 1 for some and 1.5 for others. And, you know, if you're real nude painting, it might feel like a 2 hoot, but it's really 1.5. So see how I just grabbed white?
Yeah.
Now I might grab a little more of my ultramarine and a little more white. And I'm going to come here. And I'm just going to mix this up. I want the upper part to be a little bit darker, so I might grab just a bit of my ultramarine and stroke in a couple of this darker values here, see? So I can just pull this down. You could use a round brush for this, you could use a filbert for this, you could use a bright for this. You can get this stroke with lots of brushes. I'm going to keep making it lighter and lighter as I come down, and you can see I'm keeping the stroke. It's okay if I cross over my Adobe line a little bit because I will be painting it back. Let's come here. See how we're just stroking, pressing in and pulling up?
Yeah.
It's a nice, fat, wide, heavy stroke. It's not little dashes like this. It's just a nice pull. We're just pulling it. All right? You're going to just pull a little more white.
Well,
yes?
Karen said that it was boots because it's a southwest theme.
Karen, you're clever. Karen is clever.
She is clever. So
Karen is so clever. All right. I have a little more white here. There's just pigment on my brush. And see how that almost implies some clouds?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, we're just, you know, being loose and relaxed about it. And you can come back if you're like, oh, I don't like that little spot there. You can grab some blue and just...
Wow.
Yeah, see? You can just brush that in. So feel brave and confident. The thing to think about in your sky is it's darker at the top and getting lighter as it comes near our little building. And all of these little marks just imply, oh, I had some stuff going on. Very loose, very light, very happy. All right, I need to paint in a base Adobe color. A base Adobe. So I'm going to pull out a little of my ochre and a little of my titanium white, and I'm going to make this base Adobe. Here we go. I'm going to add a smidge of Diox to gray it. That way later when I come with bright colors, it will really, really pop. Just finding it. So it's a little purple. A little more white to it. So I'm just finding my color here. Let's talk about this color. So right now I'd say I'm 1 scotch purple to 2 little pulls of white and, 2 little pulls of ochre, and I've got some white. And so what I'm trying to create is something that should be noticeably yellow, but not so yellow as to not feel like Adobe. And I'm going to scrape this aside. This is not my color.
Not the one you were looking for, huh?
I over-purpled it.
Oh.
Now, I'm not going to get rid of it because it's super useful. And that can happen to you. If you over something, don't get rid of it. Don't freak out. Don't, just go, okay, I got that. I'm going to put my I'm going to put my white out again. Right? And we'll just mix it again. And then this is already mixed for our toning and knocking back color.
Excellent.
So all we've done is saved ourselves some work for later. Right? And now I have this mixed, it's going to be really easy for me to come and tone it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get a little pull of my yellow ochre mixing in my white. And this is the fun of making this. Right, I'm making it. And now I have this if I need to knock it back. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm going to need this much paint. I'm all good. I'm all good, guys.
Excellent.
Excellent, right? So that'll happen. I'm pulling in a little of my color into my white mix, and I'm going to come here. There we go. And start painting this. This all needs to be one color initially, because to age the wall, I need to build on something. So I've got my number 8 here. My cat's tying. You could use a filbert. You could use a bright.
Now, Jordan would like to know what palette you're using there.
This is the Gray Mattish palette paper, and it's particularly good for plein air painters and people who have YouTube shows because it helps with seeing the color on camera.
Mm-hmm. Well, just sort of in general. I mean, because...
I'm just grabbing, sometimes I'm grabbing more yellow ochre into that. Mm-hmm. Just in general, it's just acrylic palette paper, though.
Yeah. Let's
just make sure that we're... We have picture in picture. Oh, yeah, good.
It's been in there. I've been
so
pushing
on
the
this, when you're looking at this brush stroke, if I can show you over here and talk to you about the brush stroke a little bit. So I'm letting some of the ochre get on there. I'm loosely mixing, right?
Yeah.
When I'm brushing this in, you'll notice that I'm doing wide, thick strokes that pull pretty long, right? And are letting me put out good amounts of paint, but I'm breaking up my eye by changing the side, the flat, the tip, and I'm not doing little dashes. See, this would be like a stipple. I'm not doing that because that would change the feeling of my wall, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine that you're somebody who lays adobe, you would do that with a trowel in big sweeping motions. So when I'm painting, I'm trying to think of that guy and his trowel. Like you do. And then where I need to get on the edge of my brush, I can do that really easily. You can use the edge of any brush that you have. Brushes have sides, generally the tip, the flat, and the edge of the bristles. So see, it's just, and by letting the paint be loosely mixed, I'm adding to that feeling of adobe. Let me grab some of this here. Yeah, I am putting a bunch of plants here, and it's going to hide that line. I just like to make it a neat line, even though it's going to be crazy. Paint around here. Painting around my little dots.
Oh, she was saying palette knife, not paper.
Oh, what's the palette knife? This is, I'm testing a series of palette knives so that I can get a set going of palette knives for all of us.
These are research and development palette knives.
These are research and development palette knives because I'm looking at a kind of a neat new idea.
We have a new thought about palette knives.
It looks like an old thought, but it's actually a new thought.
It's a different thought.
It's going to be a really different thought, and it's going to be something kind of nice for everybody. So yeah. I'm very excited. So I just want to make sure that this is all painted, and I want to make sure that my wall is all covered. You can offload paint you have in big brushy strokes around your canvas to help, you know, create that feeling of
brushy strokes.
Brushy stroked wall.
Yeah.
Now let's make a nice start to a door. So the door...
I don't think we're ready for the end of the door. So
we're not ready for the end of the door?
We're not ready for that.
All right, well then, you know, that's what we've got to do.
We should definitely be at the start.
Let's mist our paint. Bam, bam. How happy am I to be painting this? All right, so phthalo blue and phthalo green together make phthalo turquoise. And you can see I'm just pulling this out. And this I'm more thoroughly mixing. See how it's a more thorough mixture?
Uh-huh.
So I'm more thoroughly mixing this one, and I'm loading up my brush by brushing into the paint, both sides. This is how I get a good load. So I might dip in, and then as I'm pulling it in, notice how every time I pull into the brush, See how all that paint has pulled into my brush? You can see it's straightening up. I have loaded it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean is like almost like an ink pen. How much paint can I get in my brush without like making this big ball of paint?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to keep it in the bristles and not just on the exterior crawling up my paintbrush. I'm just going to come along here and paint in my door. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is a little bit loose and impressionistic as a painting. All right. Just has to be this blue, so as I paint up the layers, this is going to be so much shorter than the other blue door lesson, I can't even tell you. I expect it to be about an hour and 22 minutes or so. That's my guess. You'll have to let me know how I did. 3 hours later, they're like, hey! Just coming along here. Now I'm going to, once I start getting colored in, kind of, do my brush strokes mostly up and down because I'm going to be putting boards in later. Like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Added some water, added some blue, added some green. Brush is still good. I'm just painting in paint. That's all I'm doing. Just trying to paint in my blue door. This process is called blocking in a canvas. And the idea is that I know that my door is mostly blue and it needs an underpainting of blue for it to look like itself. So this is a process, not the only process. It's just a way, as an artist, we might get that in. And I'm just making sure I got layers. And that my canvas is well covered. And then I'm happy with my lines.
Our community is...
What are they saying?
They're sending me some definitions, which are kind of awesome.
Huh. Or they try to explain to new people what the heck I'm saying?
So what we have is a Webster's dictionary definition of scotch. It is a small amount, a bit, a smidgen, used verbally with such as like a scotch, So
technical term. Webster agrees with me. I'm so about it.
Smidgen.
Smidge.
A small amount. A bit. A smidgen of salt. And so
not an American smidgen.
So I think there's a sense of humor today about.
We all need a sense of humor on some days.
No. So how about and so was asking. Let's see here. It was Fiona was asking, how often are you streaming? And
too much.
We stream. We stream officially at least 3 times a week. And we've been doing more than that. We've been pretty much...
Well, we're on a theme week.
So
sometimes we do these really fun theme weeks where we just go live every day and we teach different projects that belong to themes. So this whole week is Southwest Week. Our next big stream week is going to go from the 1st of October to the 13th because there's a Friday the 13th. And we're going to do 13 days of Halloween because we really dig Halloween here.
Yeah.
And so there's generally those kind of projects. I accidentally just did a whole week because we were teaching a still life and I was breaking it down into segment by segment. So it kind of happens, and hopefully everyone's not sick of us.
Yeah. No, YouTube just lets us just do this.
Yeah, they just let us do it.
So it's like we were like, wait,
I teach ours for free if you
That's
don't
what
want to
we're
show
gonna do.
up. All right, so I've got my phthalo turquoise just sort of on this. Go ahead and grab your cad red.
Yep.
Right, and notice that the phthalo turquoise that's on my brush is already coloring, and I don't have to go get any more of it. See that?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm loosely mixing. I'm just loading the tip because there's this blue load behind.
Okay.
So see, I've got the blue load behind, the red at the tip.
Oh.
And I'm just going to put my bricks, cobbly, stony, desert stone.
Dirt.
Right? And the phthalo turquoise is in there.
Earth.
This creates an amazing shadow undervalue. If I need more red paint, I'll get it. It's a really cool trick. It's a really cool trick to get that laid in a way that you would really, really like.
Generally something you don't think of when you're saying, you need to undervalue my landscaping.
Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to imply the directionality of my bricks, cobblestones, little stone fixtures with my brush stroke. Notice how I'm pressing out and curving.
Mm-hmm.
I press and curve, I press and curve, I'm pressing and curving.
Yep.
I do it real fast. Every once in a while I like to show you slower so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm trying to, I come across on a straight line and then I just pull all the strokes down after that in my curve. That's a thing that we can do. I'm going to wipe off my brush but not rinse it, interestingly enough. And I'll come take my odd adobe color over to my burnt umber. I might even add a smidge of black or blue to this. I'm creating a deep sort of earthy value that's different than that. And I'm going to say this is my basis for my dirt. Desert dirt. So we could have done a solid color all over our canvas to start with. That's an option. And just loosely paint it in every object. That's a fun way of doing it. We could have done a tonal study, which is to paint everything in grayscale with one color and then paint over it with glazes. Or we can do blocking in like we're doing now. Alright, so here I go. Got that side.
It's blocked in.
It's blocked in, isn't it? It's okay if this side is a different, slightly different color than the other side because this is really about getting paint value down. Wow, this brush is loaded so thick and it's still like curving around stuff. I'm kind of tripping out on that because like, look at how thickly it's loaded. And what you just want to make sure is that you see that your earth is a different value than your bricks. So you can tell where all these objects actually are.
You can see them.
You can see them.
With contrast.
So much contrast. Contrast is so important.
It is. Especially when you're being a colorist making shadows.
Yes, especially when you're doing that. I'm going to...
Because you have to use color.
Rinse this out well.
To imply depth.
Let it rest. It needs to recuperate over here to the side. Because it's probably feeling a little abused. And I'm going to get a smaller bright brush. Now in this particular case, I'm going to get my number 4 Grand Prix. You could get a Cambridge. I'm actually probably going to switch this to a Cambridge. Because a Cambridge is slightly better for this task. The reason is, that's a number 6. Do I have a 4 out? Or am I washing my 4?
I don't know. I can't even see what you're doing over there.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my number 4 Cambridge. Why do I prefer this over the Grand Prix for what I'm doing, even though this is substantially maybe one of the greatest brushes in the world? It's because this is an all bristle brush and this is a bristle and synthetic brush. This isn't going to soften on me as I'm painting. So I can rinse it out and change colors and use one brush through a lot of processes.
Gotcha.
I'm going to pull out my burnt umber and a little of my docks.
Now I'm gonna let you know we've blown way past 300 here. And
Have we?
Yeah, we've been hanging, and like I haven't bubbled you because we had a bubble debacle at the end of the day.
Let's get the whole underpainting in, and let's have then.
Yes.
Here's the date. I'm gonna get the center painting in. Then we're gonna, as soon as that red pot is painted, we're gonna bubble, and we're gonna do a little dance and have a little bubble party. I'm gonna get a sip of coffee. That's my reward.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
But I want to let you know that it had, that they were being really awesome in here, and they were like,
so see how I'm planning my brush? So sometimes when I've got to do a circle, I use my brush as the fulcrum, and I just drag it around to make my circle. That's what I'm going to do there.
Oh, yeah, on that break, you have to tell them about your lip gloss there, because they're asking about that, too.
Okay, I will tell them lip gloss answers, makeup, anything.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to plant this, and I'm going to just go around. See how I'm twirling the brush?
Uh-huh.
That's how I get that. Bright brush. This is a bright. And I'm just making my little dark woody color.
Now, this is interesting. Where did it go? Just a really interesting... So, Eileen said, I'm so crazy about this painting because it reminds me of my aunt's house in Athens, Greece.
Oh, I really want to do some Greece houses.
I wouldn't have thought about that.
If you talk to Miss Flame Gremlin, you would find out I've had some feeling. I've made her look at about 1,000 white stucco, blue doored bougainvillea entrances. She's so over it.
So I guess this may have some other influence there.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Seriously, you could go visit Greece and Italy and France because there's nothing like a portal.
Yeah.
Okay, the red pot, our dark color for the red pot. In this case, let's go with the Docs purple and the Cad red.
All right.
Let's do that. And we're going to paint. This is our dark value of our pot. We may have to darken it, give it one more shadow, but this is what we're going to lay it in with. And when I'm doing my pot, I'm going to come on the edge to round my stroke. Come on the edge. Come on the edge for the flat bottom, but across it, I'm going to stroke across. See, I'm stroking across.
Yeah.
That's going to help you imply the shape of the pot. As you come up to hard edges, you'll have to move to the straight of your brush, like I'm doing right here, where you've got to create those hard edges and have control over what it's doing. But then as you come across the base, definitely curve that stroke. See?
Mm-hmm.
On the edge, 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 curve. Edge, 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 edge. We get blocked in our painting, boys and girls, and we're so awesome.
Yes.
How awesome are we? So awesome. All right. So we have a nice little rounded pot. It could be even more rounded. I'm looking at my original. I like them really kind of like super roundy, which will be some shading and some just that outlining. So I'm going to rinse this out, wipe it off, rest it to the side, get a cup of coffee, and enjoy my bubble bouquet.
Oh, yes, we can get you bubbles.
And I'll answer
there.
questions. So lipstick. This is Jour Rose Pink, and they had it on Facebook, like in this ad pop-up that tracked me everywhere for, I don't know how often you guys were tracked, but I was tracked for a long time. And so I finally broke down and bought some.
Yes.
From Amazon.
And you liked it.
That's what happened. But I couldn't even get the top coat that it showed in the little animation of the beauty blogger. This is just the bottom coat.
But you like it.
I like it.
So thank you guys. We've had way over 300 people coming and hanging out with us today. Love having you guys. We've loved Southwest Week. It's been really fun. So we'd love to see all the paintings that have been coming up. And we saw a lot from yesterday. Just in this last little bit, we saw all the paintings coming up with the horses and stuff. Been really having a good time. And of course, we love to dance whenever we get here with a bunch of you guys. So if you're at home, get up and dance with us. Make sure you're having a good time.
Just give it a meme or something to do.
Oh yeah. And if you can't dance, don't forget to wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, because it's important to be able to celebrate life. And remember, that's why we're here, is because we're having a good time with each other. And just getting to be able to do this whole thing is a bit fun. That's why we have the bubbles. That's why we get the dancing. So thank you guys for coming.
Sometimes I need a little break to think about the painting.
Yeah, sometimes she just needs a bubble break.
I need a bubble break. Do you ever need a bubble break in your day?
Yeah. If you had a bubble machine, I would just, we do. Just sometimes.
You want to hear that girl story?
Just bubble.
That girl?
What girl?
You know this because you used to date that girl. So when I was in art school, I would get very stressed out because they also made me take maths.
Math.
Why? Anyhow, they did. And so I would feel very stressed out. And I had this whole overall thing. Remember, I was in the overall thing where I lived in overalls because I felt it made me more arty. Mm-hmm. And I had bubbles with me in my pockets of my overalls. So when I was very stressed out, I could blow bubbles in the quad, which made me that girl.
Oh,
remember, because they'd be like, there's that girl blowing bubbles. Yeah. I was always that girl. Now I'm some artist, but now I used to be that girl. So
now, there's a good question that just came in here while you're taking your little sippy. Ariel asked, she's a new subscriber.
Hi, Ariel.
Says, I was wondering.
I'm sorry, Ariel.
Oh, yeah. Her name is Cinnamon, so she gets thoroughly mocked all the time.
It's not like a joke.
Oh, and actually, I mispronounced it because it's Arlene. So it's not even, see.
It was Ariel.
No, it was Arlene.
Get off YouTube.
So look, I have a lot of screens. They're very far away from me. And I probably should have some glasses. Okay, so back to the question at hand. I was wondering, how do you push through those times when you feel unmotivated to paint? This is a really good question. And do you sometimes experience that?
Yes.
You do?
And I'm not allowed to have it. So
we just chained her to the desk.
No, there was an honest, you've been through this with me. So in art school, I used to have a belief that painting came from a place where I was in the mood to paint. Mm-hmm. And as I started taking commission work and as I started becoming, an artist that made my living from my craft and working for my mother, and all of that, I would come to these moments where, man, I didn't feel like it, but the job's the job. Like, the client is due. And I would have these things where, like, if I was behind on a commission, it was just so stressful. It would make me miserable. I'd cry, I'd be like in the big blanket, sobbing it out. And as I took, but I really wanted to make my living as an artist. So eventually you just get to this place where you're like, you start to realize you've got to produce daily. You start to take it out of that emotional, do I feel like painting? And you start saying, I am painting every day. And as I did that, then I found I had a resilience. I went through the daily painting. I've done a lot of things so that I could just get past it, but it is a normal thing that happens to artists. And what I would say is, if your painting is a hobby, my best advice is to then, if you're frustrated with a project, you're frustrated with your creative journey, don't stop being creative, just sidestep. Chuck Carson gave this advice on the show once when we were talking about being creative. We talked about getting a new material, an art material. Try new media, try new technique, try new projects, something really off book. So you're still being creative, but you're not facing your frustration. Ooh, and the other thing is I think projects have a freshness date. It is really hard to come back to a stale project. It almost has a force field that wants to shoot you off of it. And so there's a window to put it up and think about it and be okay. Quilters get this. You buy a bunch of fabric, think you're going to make something, but if it sits in the quilting hoard too long, that quilt ain't never getting made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There's a fresh on date. So learn your freshness date. I can think about this for 2 weeks, but if I think about it for 3, that canvas is going to need to be gessoed over. Because you're not going to come back to a canvas from 2 years ago. Rarely. Some people will. Of course, some people will, but in general. No. Is that helpful?
Very.
I'm going to sippy one more time, and then I'm going to get to the next section of painting.
As I've watched you over the years, it's also, anecdotally, I see you bring in a lot of elements from martial arts and spirituality, where this is a practice.
Yes, it is my art practice.
And you're, there's very much a you take it that where you're going to do it every day because you're practicing to get perfect, not expecting perfection every day.
I do currently paint not only every day, but several times a day.
Yeah.
And I went through a daily painting. Remember when I was trying to get voice?
Yes. And that's good to do.
It did work, though.
Yeah.
It's good to do. So I work every day, and now I'm at this place where some of the paintings suck, and that's okay. Some of them suck.
But that's practicing.
And that's okay. And I got something out of the painting. It just wasn't a good painting.
Yeah. So,
all right.
So that was good.
Hopefully less of them on YouTube.
That's very good. Lots of people saying thank you very much. And they also like your hat, just anecdotally speaking, while we're passing by.
It's my blacklight hat.
You've been enjoying the hats.
I like the hats, too. I'm going to take a smidge of my CAD red experimentally over to my stucco. Yeah, I like that. And I've got kind of a dry brush here, and I've got my oxide. I'll get my base color here. Mm-hmm. So a little smidge of my CAD red, came over here, experimentally grabbed some of my yellow ochre, and now I'm adding this mix into it. See? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking for this warmth. And I'm going to come here, and I'm going to start right here on the tip of my brush. I'm just on the tip of these bristles, and I'm just brushing back and forth. Some of the brush strokes will be around, I might go around these, and I'm just trying to add a little bit of something. Grab some just yellow ochre. See, I'm just dry brushing all this. I'm going to go around here. So there'll be this sort of, so we have the underpainting. See how that's stuccoing it up? I'm going to need to put out some more yellow ochre because I used all mine ups. Stucco comes in any color you want. It's actually pretty awesome. I grew up in Southern California. Mm-hmm. SoCal. Totally awesome, dude. And so stucco homes are, the thing. So I just dusted with a little more yellow ochre. And I'm coming around here. I will come with a highlight. You can get your, if you're wanting to neutralize some of the stucco, look, you can come with that low color that we accidentally made. And it neutralizes it as we're coming down the building. But what you're trying to create is these neutral stucco colors. Mm-hmm. There, I'll get some of that neutral stucco too. As you're going, to show that this wall has personality. This is a lot like the blue door, but a light version of the blue door I did.
Yeah.
Light. You can even come and get some burnt into this. Down here at the base of the wall, look what you can do. with your burnt, you can stain your wall. Stain and shadow your wall.
Yeah.
So just feel like this wall has been in the family for a while. I like to say that a great artist lives inside these walls. Sorry. That's so crazy. I'm going to continue going. So I went and got my yellow ochre and my base stucco mix, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just working this around, warming it up. You can grab a little smidge of the cad red if you need to warm it up. See? Doesn't take much. Now I'll take this darker color kind of to my edge here, because I'm going to come back with a highlight that's super important later. Later, on the edge of my bristles, dusting around, continuing on around my objects. And see, I'm just, when I go fast, and you see me go fast, you know what I'm doing, but what I'm really doing is just, see how the brush just dances around, becoming this unpredictable little tool. I haven't rinsed it, so weird little bits of color are going to come off everywhere. And I want that. Every little wall should have a slightly different personality. In my opinion. It's probably not a true statement, but I just feel that very strongly in my painting, so I do it. I'm looking for little spots that just stand out and don't feel aged.
Yeah.
Don't feel authentic. I'm remembering that behind, like, say, this potted plant, you know, we're going to have a shadow, so it doesn't hurt to, and also if you think you're watering here.
Now, let's see.
Where I'm watering, it would darken, wouldn't it?
Robbie had a question here.
Hi, Robbie.
Are you wiping your brush at all after you load it?
Not between, on this one I haven't wiped yet.
Okay.
When should you wipe is when you feel like you're getting a result that isn't under your control. Right? So like if I've gone real dark and I want to wipe because I know when to lighten back up, I can wipe. But what you're looking for is, do you feel in control of your result?
Color gone rogue.
Color goes rogue. Don't panic. It's just more personality.
Now, how do you know when it's gone rogue versus just shifted to the red?
When a color has gone rogue is when your reaction to it is if you feel uncomfortable and it makes you unhappy and sad.
I see.
Yes, it will make you unhappy and sad because you're just like, that doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like me. You know, you can grab some of your weird putty color that you had here. Look, isn't that nice? Happy accidents, right? Sometimes wrong color is an amazing addition.
It's just all right.
Right? To a project, because look how interesting it is. Now, rinse, rinse, rinse. Rinsey, rinse, rinse, rinse. Around here, I'm going to take a little of my ochre and, yes, definitely my titanium white. You can even add a smidge of your cad yellow to it. But you're going to be creating a little highlight that dusts down. I'm leaving just a smidge of a dark edge. This helps me have enough contrast too to have a nice variance between the sky and what I've got come down here.
Now,
just pull that down. See, I'm pulling that down and I'm using the roughness of my brush to win at this technique. Yeah, babe?
Now, Veronica was asking, she was
Hi,
like,
Veronica.
So what happens if you do have a color that's gone rogue? You just
paint over it. Want me to make a rogue color?
Well, no. I mean, it's okay. I mean, like we've seen.
I don't mind.
Do you
want me to rogue out my painting? Because I can do it.
Well, and like earlier, you mixed that color there that you just scooted to the side.
Yeah, I just scooted it to the side. I'll use it for something else.
Yeah. So
I'll use it for something else.
And we've seen you like have like what was it yesterday? You got that big brown squish, and that just so we've seen you fix stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
you can. And once acrylic paint is hard to fix when it's still wet. It's incredibly easy to fix once it's dry because you can paint over it
with layers.
With layers. So I'm just taking a little white highlight right here. See that?
Yep.
Dash, dash, dash. Dash, dash, dash. Just enough to imply some stony thoughtiness. Look at that. Feeling all personality, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a wall with some character.
Oops. Push that wrong
right?
button.
And we want to look at, we're going to take a little of this in my white, and we're going to character up my door. Look around the door has some character. Character around the door. Character! Look, sometimes you can be like, character! Ah!
Doorways tend to collect character.
They do. People touch stuff.
They come
They're
in and out.
touchy.
They are. You know, if there's a statue near a door, it's been touched.
It's been touched.
And
so touched.
What I love is when artists start to, you know, you're at the place where you're starting to think about the spaces in that way, and you're like leaving little rubs of handprints here and there, and dirt, and like, you know, that conversation about the human interaction is really always exciting for me. What are you doing?
Number 4 cat's dog.
Okay.
I'm going to switch water. My water is super dirty.
Whispering
See, this is dirty, and it's got the skinning on top, so I'm going to switch water. Okay. So I'm going to take a little of my burnt umber over to my phthalo. Maybe some burnt sienna to my phthalo. There we go. And I'm going to load up my brush on the tip now. And I'm going to grow some flowers. I think these are honeysuckles or something.
Flowers.
I don't know. I looked at a bunch of reference photos and went, what kind of flowers can I have? And I'm dashing and pulling. See? Dash, pull.
Dash, pull.
Let's put some up here. This is my darkest foliage color. I'm going to add some here. And I want to bring it down, and I just imagine how a vine grows down. So see how, woo. Oh, I like that one. Even better than the first one I did. I'm liking that. Just imagine how the vine grows down. Now that's a nice vine. Let's come over here and say,
I was just going
on either side of the back side of this wall, myself, the clever gardener, has planted this wonderful vine. Maybe it's Japanese wisteria. I think it's honeysuckle, but I have to
depending on what part of the world you're in.
No, I think I've just got to go back and look at the. I collected when I was designing this. I'm like, what kind of plants could I put here?
Well, you had
Are they
specific
blooming
ideas.
all at the same time? Yes.
Is it magic? Yes.
It's magic. I'm like Phoebe. I'm magic. This is my Midnight Texas house. Okay, so.
All right.
This is worth defending.
Yes.
Because all their homes are not. I don't get why they're staying. That's really my question, except that one weird lady's apartment, which seems pretty tricked out. The rest of them, I'm like, Hellmouth, you can have it.
Move.
I would so move. All right, so I've made some vines. Vines, and I'm going to rinse this off, right? Rinsey, rinse, rinse. But I need some viney highlights. So I'm going to take a little of my phthalo green over to my Indian yellow, and I'm going to even add a little zinc to it. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Little zinc. And this is loosely mixed. So I went dash, 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 dash.
And it's mixing on the brush.
It's mixing on that brush. Look at all that.
So if you go over to the door, just put it right in front of the door. I'll zoom in on it.
Or maybe right here so you can really see it. Zoom in. Show them.
There, that's about it.
Show them what we're doing.
Yeah, see, it's all marbly. Now, where are you going to put that at?
I'm going to put that on what I imagine to be the sun hitting the top of these fabulous vines. See, and I'm flicking this out. Flicking that out. And then I'll say, oh, there's another little bit. If I lose too much, I'm going to come get some more zinc. And just dash, see? Now I'll add a little vine out that way. It's just fun to be playful. Be playful, whatever you're doing. Flick, 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 flick. Just made some vines. Can't really do it that wrong. All you can do that's wrong is not plant the garden in the first place. So spiritual. Okay, so, but it's true. I'm going to continue adding the tops of this. It needs to be light, so if it darkens up, I'm going to get some. These are the light colors. And I'm just trying here to break up the shape because I felt like it was getting a little repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you do. I'm going to get maybe a little more yellow here. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
So it's pretty, pretty, pretty. Well, I'm going to rinse this out, and I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to take a little of my burnt umber over to my Doc's purple.
You do nothing but interesting things.
And I'm going to get a little of my glazing medium, and I'm going to cast a shadow. I'm going to come here off the edge of this and make a little ellipse and come down. And this is my shadow.
Oh, sorry. I was reading a question here.
Oh.
Which was actually really good, so I need the camera a little slightly
I
off
will.
of it. But
I will do this again, so it's okay.
So Dorothy asked,
Hi, Dorothy.
is it bad practice to paint on the canvas flat down on the table rather than on an easel?
No. No. One, we don't all have the same physical experience in our bodies, right? So what's bad practice is to paint in a position that hurts your health, well-being, spine, neck, shoulders. Some people are better off painting sitting, and some people need to stand. I think it would be hard to do a large piece on a table because they really need to be held. And I've done large pieces, and you would bend over, and it would be really bad for your low back and stuff. But, dude, did we not just see Jim Carrey on a ladder just crawling all over his own work in some weird gapping?
Oh, dude, he has like the studio to end all studios. Like it's got like awesome scaffolding that he gets to lay down on and sort of roll himself around.
Yeah,
and he has all the paint.
And I think that you've just got to go piece by piece. As long as you're comfortable at your table, you're okay.
I mean,
if somebody were to roll up on you and say that's bad painting practice, I would really question their experience as an artist.
His space, you can see, was approached almost from a spiritual standpoint.
Yeah,
it was
I think so. So I'm going to try to cast this shadow at the same angle.
Yeah.
And about the same length as this other one, and see how by using this transparent umber mix it creates this really cool shadow. It's kind of a warm shadow, isn't it?
Oh, wrong buttons.
Come on there again.
I always think of
and I just try to repeat these shapes, and see it's just the glaze, so it's transparent, isn't it?
I always think of superhero names when you talk about this.
Do you?
The Undershadow.
The Undershadow. Now, one fun thing I'll do, I'll just grab a little of my yellow ochre. It can help to get your shadow color a bit into your ochre so it's not so bright. You want it bright, but not so bright. And I'm going to come to the top of my wood plank, and I'm going to add this little highlight on all three of these trees, these poles. And I'm going to just grab some of my, in this case, my pure burnt umber, and I'm going to come back. And see how I'm doing dashing strokes now? It's dash, 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 dash. I'm going to rinse out. We're almost about to have the most awesome pulls ever. And I'm going to take a little of my cad red over to my ultramarine, or my ultramarine over my cad red. There we go. Just trying to create my deepest shadow color. And this I'm not going to thin with the glaze. Come right under your pole and take a little bit of that out. Now you have a true desert shadow where it has a darker area and the lighter area of shadow. See that? And that will help your, I'm going to thin this with my water a little bit, so I get a nice line.
Ian is trying to lure us to the dark side again. He's like,
Ian?
Yeah, he's like, you're painting shadows. Does that make you a shadow caster? And I was like, well, some of us choose to be light keepers, so I guess it depends. You can choose.
I just failed my coffee. Trying to get around my...
That's something, you should be able to get a natural 20. You should be able to like, I take 10 and drink coffee. No, you can't even take a 10, not while.
Let's get our scruffy brush and work on our door, Mr. Cooney. We're letting our vines dry. We could dry them with the hairdryer, but we can also just work on our door while these are resting and drying. Mm-hmm. So this is about management of your life. And actually, while I'm here, I can do a really cool thing. Go back to the first purple shadow that you had, right? The Doc's and brown shadow. Over here, between the door and this, I want to hang some peppers that are drying on the door. So I'm going to make a little dash right here. Dash. Now I put in a nail, haven't I?
Did you?
In my mind.
Okay.
And I'm going to...
Oh, I see. That's what you meant by a nail. I was like, I guess.
Go ahead and maybe add a little cad red to your purple here. Come back. And so here's the stroke.
So
flick, 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 flick. As I'm coming down, I'm going to taper it down to 1. Okay? So what I'm imagining here is a bunch of little chili peppers just nailed into this wall.
Just hanging down.
Hanging down. You don't want them to be diagonal. They do need to hang kind of vertically. While my brush is still dirty, I can get a little of my phthalo blue. And I'm going to come right here under my door. So I have that red and purple, and I just got some of my phthalo blue. I'm just taking advantage of the paint on my brush. One of the ways that you can save money is take advantage of the paint on your brush. I'm going to just add a little bit of this little kind of decking and shadowing to this. See, I'm coming out around the corner. Now another place I'm going to add this shadow, right, that I know I'm going to have it is at the base of the door.
Oh.
Base of my door, and there's going to be a little bit of a body. I'm not going to do the flower shadows yet. I really need to put the flowers in to see where I'll put my shadows. But I can put in some basis of a shadow right here. Like I know there's a big bush, and it's going to be, see how I'm going back and forth? That scumble with my brush? And I'm pushing.
This reminds me a little bit of our stucco door.
Yes, this is a very easy version of a stucco door.
So if you wanted to add stucco to this, you could go back to that video.
You could take all those techniques and just take this next gen.
Oh, yeah.
And you have my permission to do so.
Be the next generation stucco painting.
I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue and phthalo green again, and I'm going to add a little of my zinc to that mixture. And I'm going to just dry brush. See? It was loosely mixed. If you need some more white, get it. The zinc won't overwhelm my mix here. And I'm going to dry brush this door's wood planks in. So a little green, a little blue, nice little bit of zinc. All right, we're just talking about some of the, look at that.
Yeah.
Just back and forth. So nice. We're aging the door. Aging the door. Just in a mellow way, and it's a dry brush age, right? We're aging it. I'm going to get a little more green on there. Come up in here just a smidge into my shadow because I don't want to lose it. See, this is real soft. Just implying where the door is. Now, one thing I highly recommend is I might grab a little of my white and a little of my titanium yellow ochre and my titanium white and a smidge of my cad yellow. And I might just, in this particular case, come and light this side of the door. Something I didn't do that has bugged me, and I just would do it.
Now, there were...
just...
There's been a lot of...
Scruffle that off. It just would be... This side's in shadow, so... Just make this a little bit bright here. Cool?
Yeah.
And around the pot, a little bit maybe
Oh,
brighter.
because that's the sunny side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would definitely do.
Now, there's been some really interesting comments on, in going on back and forth in chat about upgrading from, student paints to a more professional paint, a higher quality paint, and sort of the challenges around that, and that. Can you talk about when
when should you upgrade?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll say is the way that they cut costs, they get the cost down on the student paint, is that they reduce the pigment and performance of the polymers. So what that'll mean for you is a lot more work. You can still get around, I like to say, I paint with coffee.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard, but I paint with it. You know, so don't feel like you have to. I'm taking a little bit of my phthalo blue and my Mars black for the basis of a doorknob. I'm going to come right here, put a doorknob. But if you can, if it's in your budget to upgrade, you will make your painting journey significantly easier.
Right.
In the fact that you won't have to keep coming back and doing another coat and another coat and another coat. All right, I'm going to wipe off, and I'm going to get a little of my zinc white here. And I'm going to just
one of the things
pink in some of my reflection. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Now we know we're going to have a shadow right there. So I'm going to take my Cad and my Ultramarine again. I like this shadow. It's a good desert shadow.
Now, while you're there on the color palette, did you mix your own phthalo turquoise, or did you have a tube?
I mixed my own phthalo turquoise. You can buy it. If you have a Southern Ocean blue,
okay,
you're super golden. Now, that's too warm of a shadow. Oops, sorry.
That's all right.
Back to the purple and brown.
Now, you know, on the earlier you
So
were...
I just want to make sure. I'm going to wipe off my brush and just make sure that this is a... There we go. See how it's blended in? I don't want to make it... I want the shadow there around the door.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want it to be so... There we go. Perfect. Happy, happy.
Yeah.
Took my little brush. All right. Let's pot up a little bit.
Get that colored in there.
Get a little pot color in there. So now, yes, definitely going to take a little more of my purple and much less of my Cad. Get my glazing medium. If you need to add some phthalo to get the deepest shadow, which I did here, you can do that. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to pull this really dark shadow, and it's just a stroke right now over towards the right hand side on this pot. I'm going to get my glazing medium. I'm going to come under my pot with this dark color. I definitely fill in here. My little glazing medium. And I'm going to come behind my pot with this. See how it's sort of like slightly transparent, but you can see the pot is casting the shadow?
And it kind of looks purpley.
And I'm using very little wiggly brush strokes. I will need to be back at this in a second, right?
Yeah.
Because I have to put in the reflections of the flowers. But this is just something that I've got to get in to make sure that that's there. But since I've done all this hard work, guess what I get to do now?
What's that?
Put some flowers on my pretty vines.
Oh, good. Okay.
This is the best part.
Now,
so I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue and my Doc's purple, like you do, and I'm going to get a lot of my zinc white.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is my deep color, and see how loosely mixed this is?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tap my little branches, talking about these little flowers. The strokes are short. Look how short these, and they're almost like a little touch.
Yeah.
Touch, touch, touch.
Now
Touch.
You can mix pro paint with student paint. So as
You
you're
can
upgrading,
mix
it's okay.
any acrylic product with other acrylic products as long as the label doesn't specify you can't.
Correct.
Right? A couple things you shouldn't. But like you can take golden opens and mix them with heavy-bodied acrylics.
Just, you know you're going to get an effect with that.
You get an effect, but they work together.
Yeah.
Craft paint works with golden.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you're like, I have all craft paint, but I'm going to upgrade to my titanium white.
Now, that's another series of questions that had come in here. And
See, I'm just dashing this darker color around.
You know, I end up buying a lot of the product for the studio, and I would definitely say upgrade.
Come over here and dash here. You can keep explaining. I'm just saying where I'm dashing. See, I'm just doing the tap and pull. See that? Tap and pull.
Mm-hmm.
Tap, 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 tap. As many flowers on your vine as makes you happy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You were saying for upgrading the studio?
Yeah,
tap out some more flowers.
I'd say upgrade as your budget allows, and when you run out of colors, and you'll find that either the paint, you'll find either those pro paints serve you well in your studio, and they go farther, and you like them, or they don't, and you want to use some of the other paint better. But you'll find that out really quickly as you buy and use it. So
completely.
But yeah, just don't feel like you have to go out there and buy all new paint.
Mm-mm.
Just as you run out, upgrade.
Or as it aggravates you.
Or,
Yellow's a rough color, right? So you might want to upgrade your yellow. I'm taking my phthalo blue and just a little of my zinc white.
Use your coupon, get a little tiny tube, and see what you think of it before you commit to a big tube. There's
So
nothing.
look at this load. It's loosely mixed.
Yep.
And I'm going to be just tapping a couple spots. This is really important because when I come back with the titanium white, it's going to pop.
Yeah.
See? What?
Shaz says, trivia question, how many tubes of paint does Cinnamon have? Boy. But I mean, so we have them organized by color range into 4 or 6 big tubs that are on a rolling cart.
Is the thing.
And then we also organize by brand. So then each brand has its own bucket.
I'm tapping the top of where my blue flowers are. And by tapping the top, I'm like showing where the sunlight is hitting these. So this is actually going to take these also to feel a little bit like they have some white in there too.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to wipe off my brush. Come over to my titanium white. And I'm going to catch just a few. See?
Mm-hmm.
Just a few.
But I have to say that honestly, most of the tubes that we have about 10% in them. So, like, part of that is I need to clean them out.
Yeah, I need to. Do you see how the little bit of titanium white against the zinc just pops, pops, pops? Pops, 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 doesn't it? Now those are lit up and they are very happy. Right? And I've got this nice bush I can plant here and these chili peppers I can grow. So I'm going to take my cad red and let a little of my Doc's purple. Where did my Doc's purple go? Oh, there it is. It's right by it. Just a little bit. So it's a pretty bright red, but not all the way bright. And I'm going to come right back here and make sure, right, that that's there. Then I'm going to get a little of my yellow and just on the top, see? I'm going to grab a little of my red. Just make sure that there's some of this bright color. Now, what is happening here, and a lot of people get stuck here, is I don't have any shadows yet. Mm-hmm. And until I have shadows, this all just floats on my wall. So I'm going to take maybe a little blue and a little burnt umber, and in this case maybe a smidge of black even, right? And this one, yep. You can get a little more smidgy of black, but I'm glazed, right? I'm going to come under my leaves with this glaze. Now that I know where they are. And I'm going to drop a little shadow on my wall. And not only am I going to drop a little shadow on my wall, but I'm going to cast one out from my objects a little bit. See? I'm going to come to this side of my peppers. And I'm going to cast one out to the side a little bit. See how that got cast?
Yeah.
Looks like those are on a wall. And then I can even with this kind of plant my nail. Because you're just talking about these objects. Look at that. They cast a shadow. I'm going to come over and cast some shadows over here. I am the shadow. What shadow direction do I have? They're this direction. So this plant.
That's a very important thing.
The shadows are all going the same direction.
It quickly breaks your brain if shadows are going. Not at first, because you can walk up to a painting and shadows can be going the opposite direction, and you might not see it at first. Your brain will be like.
You will eventually see it.
And then once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So see how I've just kind of made that be true here?
Yeah.
where I put a lot of that shadow, but I made sure that the directionality was good. Yep. See how now my objects are not floating just weirdly on my wall for no reason that I can tell?
They're anchored.
They're anchored. I can take a little of my black and my glaze, and while everything's having a dry, I can also just kind of lightly imply some planking in my door.
Mm-hmm.
If you have trouble spacing these out, you can always pre-sketch them in with chalk. You can measure it out with your measuring thing. I'm just going to say that these are some old wood doors. And by not painting it particularly, you know, like...
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys did the blue door with me, you get this trick. You did this trick with me. Less is more sometimes. Less is more. Sometimes.
Sometimes more is more. Like
sometimes more is more, but right in this particular case, less is more.
With ice cream, whipped cream.
Now I'm going to get a little of my red and see it's still got this purple going. But
Sprinkles.
it's just toned.
More is more.
And I'm going to come to my pot.
Glitter.
And see, I'm making these little dashing strokes, right?
I don't know.
They're kind of like this little dashing little stroke. Coming over the top. Around this part. I'm remembering the stroke directionality that I had put in originally.
So Hasi
I'm going to come back and get a little more of my purple and work that shadow blended into this pot. See?
So Hasi's asking, are you only creating the specifically says how the feeling of heat created ? Only through shadows. So I think is
yes. Color and shadow. The way I'm washing certain colors out and the way I'm applying certain shadows.
Yeah.
Is what's creating that sense of that desert heat.
Yeah, I think that's what it was intended. It's so.
Coming back here. I need to deepen this, but I wasn't liking how it was placed. So I'm going to take my blue, or you can take your ultramarine, either one is good, and my purple and a smidge of my red, and I'm making an incredibly dark shadow again, because I'm going to want this to almost blend into my wall, this line. See how it does?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's so in shadow. I'm going to come across the bottom.
This is where it always gets me. Because see,
rinse out. So good, because what you do next, you don't really want your purple involved in. So I might take a little of my oxide. I'm going to warm my cad red just a smidge. And I'm going to start dry brushing back from this where my highest highlight's going to be. Adding back some of that color. Come and get a little of your Indian yellow in here. And go ahead and zinc up the white, because if I add titanium white, what do I get? I get a pink. If I add zinc, I get a lighter hue. See how we're doing right here?
Yeah.
Get your red. Come right here. Just making sure my pot looks good. No point in putting all these geraniums in it if I'm not going to let it look good. I'm going to take a little of my titanium white and my Indian yellow, and I'm right here and tap my highest highlight. See that?
Yes.
Important. Now, I might grab my phthalo, work it into here, and I'm going to just continue to have this a little bit deepened here. Just need this deepened. See how I'm just working that over there?
Yeah.
Let's put some, we've done this and we've done this. Let's put some flowers in there. So what do? We take our phthalo green and our burnt umber. For these flowers is okay. You can even add some phthalo blue for the leaves. So burnt umber, phthalo green, phthalo blue. And let's press in and make some little shapes for leaves. Something to think about. Cross your pot. Stuff grows over it. I'm going to come up a little bit higher here. Pressing in. See, I'm pressing. Just tapping it, I'm creating some interesting shapes. A little bit down. Now I don't have to take this too far forward because as I come forward, it will get lighter in the green. So now I can come with almost even a little cad yellow and phthalo green together. They are so bright and powerful. And I can tap. I want even more. I want this loosely mixed. See, with the yellow.
Yeah.
Let's say some come down here. Now let's put some of these leaves back here. Just to a titch back here. We touch them when they're back here because we don't want to lose our shadow. We don't want to lose our shape and we don't want to lose our shadow. That's the basis for what we'll be doing when we put in our red flowers. Rinsing, 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 rinsing. Fun thing to do. Take a little bit of your cad, put more cad out. We're really actually getting through quite quickly.
We are, yeah.
All right, we're doing okay. We're doing great.
So Lynette was asking.
Let's take a little cad and a little of our Doc's purple and a little of our white. We want a kind of darker color. So come right here. And then we're going to answer Lynette's question. I'm going to tap out. Somebody's living here. See it growing?
Yes.
It'll really grow if I come up with a white highlight on the top of it. There. There. It's a little plant, little guy. You can always push it back with some of your pure, look at that. If I tap this in, I can push it back with my Doc's purple. So the base of the plants are always darker than what? Where they are outcropped into the sun. What was the question?
Oh, so Lynette's hubby wants to paint with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to know if you have a recommendation on what they could do together that would be fun. Now, we actually had a couple there's some other YouTubers who did some couple paints with us and stuff. So
Yeah. They do challenge paints, like, I don't know, whoever wins painting doesn't have to do the dishes. I don't know how you just determine that, but they do. That was, how's that woodworking channel? So awesome, Wolf. What?
I don't know. You're asking me. I'm drawing a.
Okay.
We'll put a link in the
We're not
description
good on names
below.
right there, but we'll put it in the description. I have a playlist inspired by the Art Sherpa, so I have all those videos. So I'll put in the comments some videos where some couples painted together, so you can see that. The other thing I would say is, okay, if your husband isn't the one who paints normally, let him pick the painting. We have like 400. You can go by the website, and there's a gallery of all the paintings. And he can just go through, and probably shorter time period than long time period, because if he's a really new painter, he's not going to be there maybe as long as you might be up for, so something around an hour. Mm-hmm. We have a playlist of 30 under 30.
Oh yeah, that's a good way. Good place
Very
to start.
low pressure playlist. 30 under 30 was a good playlist, so it's a good thing to do. All right, let's get some bricks in.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little of, definitely, this is going to be a work of my CAD. And now I'm going to work this with my phthalo blue. All right, a little different than my Doc's purple. And I'm going to start creating these dashes. Dash, 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 all along the way. All right? Dash, 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 dash. And you're good at, this is layers, definitely. So, see how I'm not making neat rows? That's not what I'm doing, right? That looks different than dash, dash, dash. So this is a stippling stroke, and it's a randomized stippling stroke, which means I'm trying to make some bigger strokes, some smaller strokes, and I'm trying to not make an obvious pattern of anything I'm doing. Because the eye is attracted to patterns, and sometimes that can be a stop in the painting.
Mm.
And I need to just create this first textural layer.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And when I'm down front, right, my strokes will be a little bigger and a little more forceful, to imply that these little dashes are closer to me than my other little dashes. Loading up my brush with blue, loosely mixing with my CAD red again, coming back to my canvas, bigger strokes, right? Bigger strokes for all these folks?
Mm.
Okay. So I'm just coming along here. And then as I go back.
Well, it likes that 30 under 30 idea. That's a good place to start.
That's a good place. It's
Yeah.
just 30 tutorials under 30 minutes. Lots of them are Q-tips.
And then I see Mr. Raven back in chat today.
Hi, Mr. Raven. I love your squirrel, man. Oh, I grabbed some ultramarine blue.
He's out
that's okay.
in the Florida powerless
He has
land.
a pet baby squirrel like Bob Ross, and I'm totally tripping out on it. Just saying. I have squirrel jellies. But I have 3 children, so I'm pretty squirrely in my own house.
We're safe. I'm just so you know, like before we were kids, we had a menagerie of animals.
So this should have this overall textural feeling. Now there's a couple things we know. We need to have a shadow here, and it needs to be dark because there's going to be this whole planting of plants right here, right?
Yep.
And so if there's this whole planting of plants right here, we have to cast a shadow this way. We know we do. And we want it to be a little lighter over here. And then I'm going to cast a little bit of light down the center of this. So the first thing is let's get a little of my red over to, interestingly enough, my phthalo blue. So this is quite dark. And under the door, right, I'm going to deepen this. I'm doing these little dashes. I'll probably take this a little bit over here, but it's going to be more concentrated, you know, to this side because things are casting shadows. See, dash, 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 dash.
If you can give me just a moment. See, I had to adjust that camera down earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And I need to adjust it back up
and
here.
we'll get back to dashing in a second. Hi, how you doing? It's so good to be painting with you today. This is the easiest that a cobblestone brick driveway has ever been laid by me in my world. That's the other thing I like about painting gardens is it's kind of easier in the painting to lay a garden. Just saying. Very much less digging in the hot sun.
Okay. That should help us a little bit.
Num num. Num num num.
See, if I adjust the camera for the end of the painting at the beginning, everything looks a little washed out. Mm-hmm. But if I adjust for the beginning of the painting,
I'm dipping in the water and getting on my brush. I'm just letting people know what I'm doing. You keep talking.
It's too dark at the end.
It's too dark at the end.
So I have to adjust. So I'm just like,
we got to get a new robotic setting for that or something.
Human eyes are good.
Human eyes are good. So of course I'm bigger strokes down here, right? And just a little bit out this way with this color because we're going to be marrying or blending or however you'd like to be thinking about it. I'm going to rinse off. So I've got my cad red here. Just a smidge of the blue into it. See how it just darkened it a shade from this?
Yes.
Come over from this side. And let's dash these strokes this way. Opening them up, right? Now we're letting some of what's underneath show through. This is the fun. Have some fun. Dash, dash, dash. Yeah. Like a Zen doodle of the morning.
And just for
call me doodle of the morning, darling. Okay.
I just want to clarify for some folks.
I'm
she just
fine.
Goes and goes. Do you have any more in you?
I don't know. I got a lot of spit and vinegar, so it's hard to say, but I'm just trying to make this highlight through my painting.
I just want to clarify for some folks that the traceable is if you go to in the description below, there's a link to our website. And that website link will take you directly to today's project page. And on that project page has the traceable, it has a reference photo, and the video link, along with your materials. And if for whatever reason any information is missing, generally it goes up in about the next 24 hours, because sometimes
just let us know and we try to fix it.
Yeah. So sometimes those links are there, but we generally get them worked out in about 24 hours.
We try.
So that's where you can find the traceable. But there's
Indian yellow over here, and a little of my titanium white. There we go. Sorry, just gonna. Just trying to make a bunch of little dashy strokes, man. What you trying to do? Am I being rude?
No. What are you? I'm not. I'm reading chat. So.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I like to grab some just cad red
Sorry.
and just dash that through here.
No,
Some
you're
pure
doing-
cad.
You're doing just fine. I was just
The
over here.
power of pure cad is intense. Look at that. The power of some pure cad is just powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just dash that here and there. So the trick is there's just this sort of highlight that we're talking about that's coming here, right? Maybe there's a little cad this way and a little cad yellow, and that makes this nice warm orange, and we can be like, oh yeah, it's a little warmer over here. Dabble some sunlight over there if it is, right? And then maybe grab some Indian yellow and a little zinc white. And you can come down the walkway with, look at this little dappling of light. Isn't that cool? Dabble, dabble, dabble. Dabble. Okay, so once you have your walkway where you like it, rinse, rinse, rinse your brush.
Definitely rinse your brush.
Come back and do our old favorite, some Docs purple with some cad red light.
Now, when should we be worrying about water changes? Because I know that you've
we're
got
coming up on another one.
Okay.
So how you know to change your water is either your water has become murky, nondescript water.
Where you could paint with the
Or
water.
if you're painting a bunch of purples, but you need to switch to some bright yellows, you know those are contrasts and therefore will gray each other.
Yes.
Change your water, even if the water's not that dirty. But in this particular case, I'm using this contrasting experience to advantage. I'm taking a little of my Dog's purple over to my cad red, and I'm going to give some of my flowers. They're going to be in shadow over here a little bit, aren't they?
The shadow flowers.
So these are geraniums. So I'm gonna put some geraniums here.
That's on My Little Pony that has yet to be.
Shadow flower.
The shadow flower.
Right? So you're just talking about these a little bit. You can plant some geraniums up here. Don't go too far forward with the shadow. Right?
In the 80s, it would have been a
Now,
Care Bear.
without rinsing your brush, add another little lighter red. And on the back side, come here and add some highlights to even these flowers because they have value, don't they? So even though we're painting impressionistic flowers, what do we have to do? We have to give the value. Now I'm going to come with some just red, just some pure red, and I'm going to add my geraniums here, and I'm just brushing stroke down. Look at this weird abstract shape. So you guys get really intense and critical of what you're doing, and you're real mellow about whatever I did. Because a lot of times I'm like, you did as good as me. So I'm just adding this, like, this red value, right?
I think that we all have a critical eye of our own things.
We do. I'm going to add a little yellow here. Right?
Yep.
To some of this. Once I have that in and I'm super happy with it, right? And this is just going to be about you just going, when am I happy with my cad flowers? Okay? Do I want more leaves here? Like you might be like, you know, I like that, but let's take a little yellow and a small amount of phthalo, and let's just make sure that there's a couple little leaves in my pot that I like. Just whatever you need to do to feel good. Notice the vigorousness, which while I'm rinsing out my brush.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back and I'm going to get, what was it, my ultramarine, little black, little phthalo blue. We're making that wall shadow, the cool shadow. What do we have here? These cast shadows, don't they? Don't forget theirs. There you go. So you just got to remember that the shadow is cast off that pot. Has the day not stayed quite bright, quite lit up? I'm going to change water now. See how murky?
Let's see. Oh, it is murky.
Murky.
The creature from the murky paint bucket. Dun, dun, dun.
So true. All right. This is an interesting thing. I'm going to take a little of my burnt and my phthalo green and see this kind of weird browny green color. And I'm going to come and add just a smidge of my ochre to it. And let's come here in this ground and I'm going to just dash out some of this ground color. Just make sure it's here. Yes, I'm coming with the sunflowers, but I just want something that just says, hey, where I've got the purple in this meeting, definitely, work those two into each other because you just don't want to make an obvious line. See how I'm doing? See how it's wet and I'm just letting the purple work into it? This is how I'm creating that feeling of earth. Earth! So easy to do. Now we're going to come and plant some little yellow scrubby bits there for sure. But first, we have to make... Anybody remember what this flower is called? Please tell me because I saw it and I felt like it looked very deserty. Just let me know. So I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue and green together and make a kind of phthalo turquoise more towards the green shade. I'm going to get a little of my yellow oxide. This is my dark version of that, and where I need to really deepen it, I add some purple. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So how I did this is I'm like, I know I've got this basic, I'm going to do this here, this basic deep plant shape, right? It's a big boy. So I've got to build the base. This is the deepest value of the plant. It comes all the way across here. Okay? Whatever this is. So I made that crazy green and I added the purple to it. This actually weirdly works. Probably have to make it all up again. All right? So once I have that in, I'm going to dash, 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 kind of try to build the weight of this center in. And I'm going to have to put some dark leaves. And these go down like this. They're these weird folding leaves. And they come around. I'm going to add some up. Folding leaves. So they bend over. Even though I'm going right over my shadow, I'm kind of paying attention to that brush stroke. It is the only way I'm going to have any idea what to do in a second. It's so true. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to have to put out a little more of my phthalo blue. Because this is a weird color, but this is the plant color. So strange. A lot of fun, though, to play with this, to play with all the different kinds of greens there are. So I'm making that again. I'm getting my yellow ochre. Now I'm going to get my titanium white into this. And there we go. If you need to gray it, you just add a little of that purple to it. But see how it's sort of lighter? See it there? Now, coming up over this, I'm going to start putting in some of these leaves. Very light with my stroke. The purple is still wet, so it actually helps me get the shadow I need to get on this plant where I need it. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about, I'm pressing in, down, tapering out the stroke. And I'm imagining the gravity pulling all this down on my plant. Now while I'm here, I'm going to also give myself some stalks that I'm going to grow out across my walkway. Right? Maybe one comes up here. Really doesn't matter how many. It's however many pleases you. I might just go ahead and add a little more yellow. Watch this. A little more yellow titanium white. And on these, I'm going to just highlight them just a touch in a couple places over here. But not as much that direction because it's all in shadow. That's just even better than I initially did it. Rinsing, rinsing, rinsing. Get a little of your Dog's Name Purple and a little of your phthalo blue together. And we're going to do the dash. You ready to dash?
Yes.
Dash, 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 dash. So just relax, and I'm just tapping, and I'm making these stalks. And the stalks are just this little tap down the stalk. Yes, I am literally painting over the green stalk I just gave myself, and that's okay. Right? Because I just needed to know where I thought I was going to put some. You just need to know where you think you're going to put some. You might have some short ones here, right? You might have some long ones. Just think about this flower and how it's growing in this environment, right?
Yeah.
Does it have short friends? Because you just want it to feel like the kind of flower that you might see at the front of somebody's weird little garden. Your weird little garden. It's the beginning of my weird little garden, so that's you've come over to visit me.
This is your garden. It's not.
I'm gonna just add some white to this, but I don't want it totally not my brightest white yet. So see, I've got the mix there. Come to the top of your flowers.
So those of you who are married, this may be your partner's weird garden.
Might be your partner's weird garden that you're painting for them. That they said, we really want to. I wish we could live in this really expensive $500,000, $2 million Santa Fe home. Can't, but I can paint it. Maybe that
could be what you're working towards.
Yeah, that's what I made.
We're
very So I'm just
vision-driven.
adding these highlights to these, and then I'm thinking about what would be highlighted here. Well, it would be more in sun up here on the tip. So just remember to change the side that's highlighted for where the sun is hitting everything, right?
Yeah.
Get some just white on your brush and go ahead and give this a third. See? Doesn't it pop it?
It does.
Pop it.
It's the flowers.
The flowers make the whole thing. So I'm going to rinse that out. Something I think is super important is these shadows across the door where this is casting a shadow. And wherever these little stalks are, they should cast a little shadow. So I'm going to get a little of my black and a little of my phthalo blue and a little of my glaze. And just go ahead and tap a little
Tap, tap, tap.
shadow on your door. Right? Why wouldn't it have one? Of course it would have one. So give it the shadow that it would have. And you can even come in here and shadow a little bit if you need to some more. So see, you're just trying to, isn't that shadow, doesn't that just...
It's just amazing.
It's just the best thing ever. Back to our scruffy brush. We're going to have some fun.
You're going to do some of the grasses in front?
They're a little weird. We kind of did it with the buffalo. I was sort of excited to practice these because we had to do them sort of a little bit with the buffalo. And I was like, what can we do? What can we do?
You can do some buffalo scruffalo.
Buffalo scruffalo.
Bicinalo scruffalo.
So I'm going to take my yellow ochre and a little of my burnt umber. Right. Let's get some. See, isn't this cool? We took our ultramarine blue into this. Right. Now, it's on my deepest color. I'm going to go ahead and grab. Look at how unwashed any of this is.
It's an
just a
unwashed
hummus.
brush.
I'm going to just tap like this. See, push, tap, pull, tap, pull, tap, pull, tap. Over. Let's be encroaching. Let's encroach.
Patricia says, this looks like New Mexico.
Yes. It's like the best place ever. Now, as I'm coming forward, be audacious and grab some purple. Just in the center here. Because it's going to create a shadow for you you're going to need in a second. Hard to have any of this other stuff if there's not a shadow. Rinse, 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 rinse. Now come into that whole color again with your yellow ochre. You can get a little of your zinc if you want. So see, that was the first color we mixed. Now very carefully pull down this sort of shrubbery highlight that you have right here. See how that goes? You can get a little more brown and ochre. You're just trying to create this. See, we're just tapping how that creates these grasses. All right, I'm going to put a little blue flower back here. I'm going to take my zinc and maybe a little of my blue. It's okay if I add a little green to it, so it's a little push back. I'm going to add, oh, it's so pretty. Let's add a little blue flower. Tap, 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 tap.
Sorry, I sneezed.
And it needs a little white highlight or we can't see it. Tap, 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 tap. Hey, little guy, are you there? Oh, yeah, I am. See my highlight? Oh, I see you now. Get some purple going, right? And then you can be like, oh, no, but there's a little purple fellow here. Isn't he pretty? It's the purple and the yellow against each other that just pop. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And we'll do the big bush up front, which is a little of the yellow ochre and just the ultramarine. Right? There we go. making this weird green. If you feel like you want to green it up some, you can add some phthalo to it. And let's add this bush, this bigger, more thought about bush. See the strokes they're just pulling down? Right, into the space. Isn't that nice how those plants are layering to each other? I'm going to look at it for a second.
Whoops.
Oh, the garden is a grow.
Yeah.
The garden is a grow. We're just a little later in the growing season with this one. So see, I'm just having a blast with that, right? I'm going to get, I'm going to probably put out a little more titanium, a little zinc, and a little more of some of my colors because I'm really like, what? I think actually I don't need any more zinc, so I may refrain. All right. So here we go. Now, I'm going to add to this, I'm going to take a little of my yellow ochre into this muted green. I'm going to take a little of this cad yellow medium into this muted green. You see that there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Add a smidge of white to it. And let's start pulling down some of this fun. See, I'm just going dash pull. These are just little dashes. I'm just talking about the top of this. If I'm feeling here, I'm worried here that this isn't dark enough. Not deep enough. So I'm going to take a little of my burnt umber in my ultramarine blue and then original green. And I'm going to make sure that right here, as I'm coming and lightening this up, there's a deep value. See that? You need to have deep values, man. Or it just won't feel like the bush has depth. I'm going to rinse out, and I'm going to let this rest and dry for a second. We're actually nearly done.
Yeah.
Let it rinse and dry for a second, and I'll just come get the front of this. So I'm going to take my Indian yellow and maybe what's left of my zinc, and I'm loosely mixing, and I'm going to add some flowers to the tops of my bushes. See, I'm adding that. They're like right there. They're just like to the top.
Yep.
They have a little personality. Any questions?
Oh, yeah. So actually, I was just answering one. So Jody, who just joins us for the first time.
Hi, Jody!
She was like, who's typing for the Art Sherpa? If she's painting, someone else must be typing.
This is just, for most live art shows, because I've got to paint and work, and this is true for most other creators that do it. You get help.
Good co-host.
You get a co-host. Some co-hosts talk, some don't. But this is like how we do it because the equipment is so crazy.
And we tried just letting Cinnamon have
it's not good.
some images, but what ends up happening, she likes to read and chat.
I took my Indian yellow and added a little titanium white while John's explaining why it's so crazy. And I'm going to tap the top of these flowers for the sunlight. Right? They're going to be a little more in shadow there. So there's just a bit of that sunlight.
But yeah, they were just wondering, like, how is this possible? How can you type and respond? This can't be live.
This is so live.
It's live.
So live.
It's just I have the little Sherpa moniker in chat because I'm the lead moderator, so I show up as you. So that's what happens.
That is what happens. So once I have that, I'm going to get a little more yellow even, and I'm going to mix it with my Indian yellow, my cad yellow, my Indian yellow. And I'm going to create these yellow guys are going to be a little darker. They're here. And then let's get a healthy heaping of white on our brush and talk about these. They're highlights. Isn't that nice? It just feels like that happened here, doesn't it? Look at this beautiful flowering. Oh my God, I love these. I would plant these for real. I don't think these all naturally bloom at the same time. But I would.
But on your wall they do.
They could. I'm going to just real quick take my shadow color, which as a refresher was my phthalo blue and my phthalo black, right? Because I made two shadows. I did one with my burnt umber and dogs and purple, and I'm doing with my black and blue. Those are my two shadows for this thing. And I'm going to make sure that glaze it, that we have a nice little shadow coming up our walk. See?
Mm-hmm.
We just want to make sure that our walk is in shadow. Isn't that nice? That's going to help. It's going to help it. And I need to add some light to it.
Need to add some light?
I do. I need some light down the center.
Release the light.
Release the light. I'm going to get my Indian yellow on there, and I'm going to get a little of my white. All right. Better?
Yeah, I liked it beforehand. You made it even better, though. Yes.
All right.
It wasn't
Last,
worse.
but best plant.
Sunflowers?
Sunflowers. I'm going to take a little of my burnt sienna and my phthalo blue. My phthalo green. Right? Add some phthalo blue if you need to deepen it. And let's talk about what's happening here. So I'm going to scubble, scubble, scubble. I'm going to say there's this sort of triangle shape. See how I'm wiggling back and forth?
Mm-hmm.
This basis, this dark basis, is going to help create the depth of my plant. It's going to say how deep, how big, how much shadow can be cast inside my plant. While I've got that there, I might as well come in with a little of my docks and deepen even some of it. See?
Mm-hmm. And the sunflowers are particularly special to us.
Yes.
We like, and like our Cinnamon had painted some sunflowers very early on, and at our house, whenever the kids are feeling sad or gloomy, we like to go outside and pretend we're sunflowers to absorb the sun.
Yes.
And feel it coming in through our face and going down through our bodies into our toes.
So true.
And being sunflowers. And that's just a good way to because they're such happy plants.
I'm going to take a little of my Indian yellow and my yellow ochre, and I'll go ahead and just smidge it with some green. Just smidge, though. I got a little bit crazy there. Right? Get a little of my white. And right here, I'm going to see I'm just on the corner of my brush. Look what I'm doing. I'm growing some this is some little shrubberies.
Yes.
Like this, go shrubberies. Shrubberies. Little friendly shrubberies.
They're popping up. And that's what happens along pathways. Little things start to grow.
I'm going to dry while John speaks to you.
I am?
Because for the next part, I don't want the under to pick up too much in the colors I'm dropping over.
Okay. So I'm going to say thank you guys for all coming with us. We've had a wonderful crowd of people here, and the chat's been wonderful and really nice. And I just want to say thank you. And I look forward to seeing everybody's painting their blue doors and how you do your stucco walls and your flowers. That's going to be really nice. So please don't forget to share those up on our website, TheArtSherpa.com, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all those different places. Can't wait to see them. So
Shadow color.
shadow color.
Shadow color. Shadow color.
Yeah, those sunflowers, they're always so happy. So that's always a good thing to do if you're feeling a little gloomy. Be like a sunflower. Go stand in the sun for a little bit.
It does help.
It really does. It's, one of those things you wouldn't think about, but, just closing your eyes and thinking about being a sunflower.
Be a sunflower.
Absorb that happy light. Unless you're a vampire, and that's a wholly bad idea. But for the rest of us.
John's having a whole moment there. I'm just trying to make sure that my little plantings here cross over my brick in a way that feels good. So you have to cast a little shadow underneath them, and then you just want them to be uneven, and it's just a thing I really wanted, so I did it. I did it.
You did it.
I did it. So,
Oh.
cad yellow and phthalo blue, right? Because my sunflowers. And my first leaves, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to create these sort of flat pull leaves.
Okay.
They're bigger. Right? I want to make sure that I do them around. I should have some that come down. They should be a little larger.
Okay, so I have a very,
And I'm going to grab some more green just in case some of these are sometimes darker. And then we'll have to come up with a real highlight. See how these are pretty big?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that you don't have weird shapes in there and they don't do some odd things. So, remember to randomize. And then as you're more interior in the bush, you've got to be darker. See?
Now,
with your green. See, I'm going darker.
Shada, I believe Shada was asking, hi, how do you decide what the shadow color is?
I try to decide, is the shadow warm or cool?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like there's a lot of reflected light? So if I'm looking at an object, I just look at that. I'm like, because shadows are never just one thing. And there's generally a cool shadow and a warm shadow, and there's a whole thing that you can study on that. And then if I'm trying to mix it, then sometimes it's like, it will be like, oh, I'm going to be more purple, or I'm going to use the blue and red, and I'm going to be really looking for shadows. Like one of the best shadows for bright, sunny aspects is ultramarine and cad red or crimson, because that feels like a very bright shadow. So like when there's a lot of bright directional light and it's cast, there's still some, it's cool, but it's not cool the way, say, a winter shadow would be, where I'd be like way in the docks in the phthalo greens.
Yes.
So I'd be just thinking about my environment. I'm going to add a highlight color. So I've got some green here already in my yellow, taking advantage of, going to add a little white. And I'm going to highlight some of my leaves. Not all of them. See? Just some. Just some.
Just some.
Just some. Let's get a little of our burnt umber and burnt sienna. We can darken it with some phthalo blue because we want a dark, dark color. And let's plant, let's face us a nice big sunflower right here. Let's make a little circle that's pretty big and central and facing right here. All right. Then I'm going to put one that's sort of curved back this way. Maybe a little guy right there. Another nice big yellow fellow looking at us. Half moon one, so I'm doing half circles and full circles. Some of them I'm facing away, some of them I'm facing closer, and I still may have to come back with one more layer of leaves just to push some of the sunflowers back into the plant. Just depends on how it paints. All right. Now another big nice circle there. Where I have circles, come back in with your burnt sienna and add a highlight where the sun would be hitting it. And it can even help to get some yellow ochre in that one too. For some of them, right? See it? Now you can see where your circles are. But I am thinking about the direction of my sun and where that highlight would be hitting. Right? If I want to go even an extra step further on one, I can sit there and be like, you know, like right there. So it's just wherever I'm feeling my highlight would be hitting. I'm going to get a number 2 bright. And I'm going to take some of my yellow. Let's get the skinned yellow out. I'm going to make sure there's just a smidge of my cad red. All right. So that my yellows are not so pristine. And I'm going to pull these little petals. They're rough. Right? They're just pulled around. They're so bossy with our petals. Try to think about the foreshortening of them, if I'd see them sort of dashed around the backside, pulling them down. And I know I'm going to need a low light and a highlight color. Getting some red. And so the trick
I like
is,
that red just a little bit in there. It's just nice.
It can be. It can be. Right? I'm just trying to say petal, petal, petal. There. So we have some there.
And these are sunflowers. But
Yes.
but they could be yuccas. You could put yucca plants there.
You could put anything here. This is your garden, man. Let it grow as you see fit. I'm going to pull out a little of my yellow and get some of my titanium white. And something I'm going to do is I'm going to come on this side of the flower and highlight it. Right? I'm going to come on this side, highlight a couple petals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to highlight a little here. Not everything, some things. If I need to, I'm going to take my Docs purple and I'm going to come in and I'm going to define my shapes a smidge. But not much. Right? Because we want them to be loose and painterly. You can always come back with yellow. You can always come back with burnt umber and say, hey, be more sunflowery. You can always come back with a little bit of green and add leaves, right? Let me see how that's looking. Let's back up. See, sunflowers.
Sunflowers. They look really good.
The trick will be on these to make sure that some of your yellows are actually grayed out. It's why I paint it muddy.
Mm-hmm.
And some are bright as if the sun is revealing them.
Oh,
And that's how that all pulls together from that
it really
painterly mess to something really beautiful that you're like, I cannot wait for everybody to see this thing. I just did. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so awesome.
So now you're just going to put a little signature on there.
I am. I'm going to find a color that I think that goes pretty well in my environment. I'm looking for whatever's not nailed down. Right? Get my fluid paint. And I'm going to just sign it. I want it to be readable so people know it was me, but not overtake my whole painting like I'm a crazy egomaniac. I mean, unless you are Peter Max, and then by all means, go for it.
Yes. Now, people really love the flowers. Oh, just barely out of the way. They really love the flowers on this one.
Do they?
Yes.
I'd like to do more like this. This is really a fun project for me to do. It's fun to design. It's fun to paint. It's fun to share with you guys.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
One of the things that we found was really important to make sure that yours turned out right was that contrast line at the top.
Yes.
You just want
that's a good idea. Let's talk about things that you need to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
Let's recap.
That's great.
While we're looking at this for a second. Definitely, because you're making the sky so light here, making sure you have a darker line right here along the edge. It's a little cartoony, but it's necessary for it to show. Then you have to come and hit it with this dry brushed highlight. On these, having the shadows all go the same direction is super important. In fact, all of these that are casting shadows, right, having them all go the same direction is super important. Here, because the color of this wood and the color of this would interact with each other, right? Mm-hmm. And they might impact, so I did that purple shadow there. That's why I did it that way. This is the phthalo blue and black shadow with a little burnt umber, and I glazed this here. I made sure it came off of these and off of these, and they're still all going the same direction. Other things, super important to making this painting successful. If your flowers would be in shadow, they need to be darker, and then you want to do your bright flowers up front.
Right.
Same what I did here, including these nice important little shadows here, shadowed under the door, light down the bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Here, right, we remembered that we had to have these deep values to make the tops of these feel really interesting, and we put that purple through there. And then where did I put the pop of highlight? Back here.
Yeah.
On these. We let some of these colors get muddy, and we did a highlight to the outer edge, and we even anchored just a smidge under here, a little depth with a shadow, and then came back and pushed it forward, didn't we? Couple shadow colors here. so that this isn't just a perfect hard edge of the pot. We want the pot to almost disappear, because if the sunlight were very bright, were very stark, we would lose some objects and shapes to shadow. Is that a good recap? I like recapping.
Yeah, that was great.
Recap. Sometimes I'm like, bye. But I think the recap is a good idea. What do we care about? Dry brushing here?
It's coffee time. I'm out of here.
Yeah, it is. It's coffee time. But hopefully that's helpful. You know, I like that. I like the recap. John's going to let you see the painting
I am?
for a second as we go out. But I want to leave you with a thought. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other.
Let's let them look at this real quick.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just real quick so they can see that.
Yeah, that's nice. So that way you can screenshot that or anything if you just need that at some point during your project. Suggestions that you've made to us, because we're always about making the show better. It's just great to spend time with you. Tomorrow we're going to do that crazy abstract Iris O'Keeffe inspired painting. So I hope some of you more adventurous people will be coming. You know, just bring your favorite brush. Maybe it's a number 6 or a number 8 bright. Maybe it's a big fat round. I'm going to be using mine. And I want to see you with the easel really soon. Bye-bye.